If you enjoy this video, please consider giving a thumbs up. It really helps the channel. And if you have any ideas for future videos, share them in the comments section below. This original bedtime story is made possible thanks to Slumberland patrons. If you would like to support this channel, you can find Patreon details in the description and on my channel homepage. So as you listen to me and begin to drift comfortably asleep, I don't know whether you'll drift asleep faster to the sound of my voice, or perhaps to the spaces between my words. And as you comfortably drift asleep, I'm just going to tell this story in the background, and you find yourself sitting at home in a garden. The most beautiful garden on a summer's day. You can notice the plants, the shrubs, the trees, the movement and the rustling of the leaves as the wind occasionally blows a breeze, butterflies, birds singing in the trees as you relax in that garden. You can hear the sound of the bubbling water of a pond, and just relax back, feeling the warmth of the sun on your face. And while you relax in that garden, so you notice a beam of light way off in the distance. You don't know where that beam of light is coming from, but you can see off in the distance a beam of light. And you're curious about that beam of light. So you leave your garden and you start exploring. You go and try and find that beam of light. You head all the way down to the coast. And down at the coast, walking along the shore, the waves lapping on the shore, the sound of the sea, seabirds, you can notice that beam of light coming from a distant cliff. And you walk all the way towards that cliff. And you think to yourself that it's almost like having a lighthouse, except this beam of light is aiming straight up. And you see that there are lots of other people who've come to explore to find out what that beam of light is as well. And as you arrive at the cliff, you notice there's a crowd of you at that cliff, looking on at that beam of light. And this near to the light, you can hear a buzzing, a pulsing sound, and notice in the light slight pulsing waves as that light seems to be beaming like high energy up into the sky. And you're curious what that beam of light is for, where it came from. And you try and look over people's shoulders, you try and get closer, and eventually you manage to get close enough to see the base of the beam of light. And it seems to be an open silver suitcase. And you don't know what that case is or where it's from, why it's there. And then you hear some sirens and some black cars arrive with blue flashing lights, and people in black with no identification for you to know who they are, where they're from. Get out of those vehicles. Ask everyone to move aside. They push through, they get to that suitcase. And they seal up that suitcase, shutting it over the beam of light. And then they take that suitcase away, get in their cars. Blue lights flashing, sirens going, and they speed off. And all the people up here on the cliff are talking to each other, trying to work out what went on, what they saw, sharing stories about where they were when they saw the light, what they think it is. And you don't go and talk to others, you don't engage in their gossip. Instead, you just contemplate the experience. And as everyone else starts to disband, you just stand up on this cliff and you're gazing at the space where that suitcase was, wondering what was so special about that suitcase, who put it there, who told the people who turned up that it was there, who were the people who turned up. And as you think about all this, you notice something glisten in the light. You go over near to where that suitcase was, and you see what looks a bit like a stone from a ring. And you pick up that stone and you walk off with it, walking down that cliff, back down to the shoreline. Back down on the shoreline you find a bench. You sit on that bench, gazing out to sea, holding that stone in your hand. You can hear the sea rolling in and out. And you think about what that stone might be, where it might be from. And you think about that suitcase and that light. And while you're thinking, and in your own world, just resting there, someone comes along, sits down next to you. And they say they think you found something. And you feel your heart flutter a bit. And you say, I don't know what you're talking about. And they say, up on the cliff, I think you found something. And you deny that you found anything. And they say that they know what happened. They know how that suitcase got there. They know what the suitcase was, what the beam was. And you say to them, go on then, tell me more details. And the person starts saying that beam was a beacon that was calling out to an automated ship in space. That an alien had escaped. They'd been trapped here for many years. And that they wanted to try to get away from here, try to get back to their ship. That they came in peace just to explore, just to learn more about the planet. But then they were captured. They'd managed to escape, managed to get to an open area, managed to trigger their beacon. And then before they'd managed to get away, crowds of people started appearing, so they'd had to run off and hide. And their ship will be inbound, heading to where the beacon was. And the ship will be cloaked, and it'll hover to where the coordinates were for the beacon. But as they went off to hide, they dropped the trigger for the ship. And that's what you've picked up. And you ask, how could any of that be true? What evidence do they have? And they said that they are that alien. They are that being who'd gone and hidden. And they need that trigger back so that they can board their ship and leave. And you opened your hand and you turned to look at the person. And they looked very human-like. And you asked them how they could be an alien if they look very human-like. And they explain if they've got the technology to travel between stars. Clearly they've got the technology to be able to disguise what they look like. That it doesn't take particularly advanced technology to make something synthetic that looks like human skin. That even props for films, for beings like humans, they can look pretty realistic. Prosthetics that humans can wear can look pretty realistic. So a race of beings that had passed Earth's level of civilization thousands of years ago is clearly advanced enough to be able to blend in. But arriving on a ship did draw attention. They managed to get themselves captured. They didn't expect to get captured. They visit planets, they find planets that have life. They explore them from space initially, scanning the planet. They usually don't find any highly intelligent life on the planet, and so they just explore the planet as themselves. But occasionally they'll find a planet like Earth, where there's intelligent enough beings that would recognize that there's something different about them. So they blend in with those intelligent beings. It allows them to gather information about the culture, about what these beings are like. But being so advanced, they explained, has led to them perhaps being a bit too complacent, that they felt that an intelligent being would obviously think intelligently, would be kind and respectful, would be trying to promote humanity's growth. But they managed to track their ship flying into the atmosphere. And they managed to be at the destination, and they managed to track where the alien had landed. And after the alien landed, they always sent their ship back up into orbit while they explored. But this time round, on Earth, they'd got captured, and nothing really happened. The humans didn't know that they were the alien. They wanted to know what happened to whatever came off of a ship. They saw that the ship had landed, and they arrived as the ship took off. And because this alien was there when they all arrived, they took them in for questioning. They saw that they had this suitcase with them, and that it appeared to be alien technology. But the alien never revealed their identity. They never revealed what the suitcase was and what it was used for. And they were kept a prisoner like any other human would be kept a prisoner in their military base. But that meant that they were being underestimated. And so it didn't take much for them to escape the base. And although it was noticed that they had escaped, they'd managed to get to the cliff, and they'd managed to set off their beacon to cool their ship. And before the ship arrived, all the people started arriving, so they had to go and hide and never managed to get on the ship. And now that ship will be hovering there waiting for them, just silently cloaked, just off the cliff. So they just need that trigger to be able to access the ship. And the military had taken that suitcase, taken back the alien tech, obviously to try and find out what it does, what it is. And they're obviously still searching for the missing person, not noticing and not being aware that that person is actually an alien. They just assumed that it was somehow a person who had arrived on the scene before they had arrived, although now they probably suspect that person knew more than they were letting on, because the person had managed to escape from a highly secure military base. You want to know more, you want to know what other alien life is out there. What worlds have alien life? How many other aliens are out there? And you follow the alien up the cliff. And the alien says they can't tell you any of that information. That's all for future generations to find out. When, as a species, you end up becoming a spacefaring species, and you want to go with that alien to explore other worlds. And the alien says that you can't come with them. And as they reach the top of the cliff, so they press on that stone, and you see a spaceship de-cloaking just off the cliff. You see a door open. A ramp stretched down onto the cliff. That alien walks up into that ship. The ramp rises up, the door closes, and the ship shoots off at high speed, vanishing as it goes, cloaking itself as it goes. And you're stood on that cliff edge, in silence, in awe of what you've just seen and experienced. Really wishing that that alien had shared more with you. And over the next few days, you spend time sitting in your back garden, you go out for walks, you eat your food, you watch TV, you go to bed and sleep. You go to the library, you search online, trying to find any information on aliens. You regularly spend your time stood outside in your garden, gazing up at the sky, watching the stars, watching the moon. You feel like an opportunity was missed. You feel like something is missing, something you didn't even know could be missing until the other day. And then about a week later, you go out in your back garden, and on a table out in the back garden, you see a silver bracelet and a handwritten note. And you pick up that bracelet and feel the weight of that bracelet. And you see that handwritten note, and you read the note. And the note says that this bracelet has been made just for you. And it's from the alien. And the alien has written this note. And the alien explains in the note how, after leaving you on that cliff, they picked up on how curious you were and how you'd reacted to them when they revealed themselves. And so they've been watching how you behave over the last week or so. And they feel that they can trust you, so they wanted to give you this bracelet. They wanted to be able to share some knowledge with you as one of the beings on this planet. Share something with you that no one else on this planet has. And this bracelet has technology in it that responds just to the DNA of you. That it responds to that DNA through touch on the skin. And if anyone else wears that bracelet, it just acts like a normal bracelet. But if you wear that bracelet, you can rest your hand on that bracelet in a certain way that'll activate the bracelet and will trigger the ability to mentally travel through space. And the letter explains that what's going on is kept simple in how it's being explained here. But essentially, everything in space is connected. And so it's possible not just to physically travel from point A to point B, anywhere in space, but you can psychologically, mentally travel anywhere at all. you can view anywhere at all. And you see it as if you're seeing through your own eyes, hearing through your ears, feeling what you'll feel, as if it's all real. But it'll all be just in your mind. Almost like you have a virtual reality computer screen inside your mind, where you're able to find the locations that you can visit that are all pre-programmed into the bracelet. And you can explore different options to find where you want to go while holding that bracelet, while resting that hand on the bracelet. And then you can select to go there, and you'll find yourself there as an observer. You can't interact with anyone there or anything there, but you can explore and float around as an observer. And so you begin to test this out. You rest back in that seat. You place your hand on top of the bracelet, close your eyes, and then you start to see as if your eyes are wide open. And you notice at the sides, almost like at the sides of a screen, are some different options. And you just start thinking about the options that you want to check out. And it happens automatically. And you start thinking about the options that are on the screen. You find a planet to explore. You think about that planet. And then you find yourself on that planet. And while you're on that planet, you start to explore. You notice that you can feel like you're walking on that planet. You can feel like you're touching things on that planet. And yet, you know you're not really interacting with them. You're just an observer here. You're just a mind on that planet. That there's nothing physical to you present on the planet. And you visit a planet that has two suns, a bright white sun and a large red sun. And you notice how all the plants are almost black, like a really, really dark purpley colour. You notice different animals here. You reach down, you run your fingers through the plants, touching the leaves. You can feel those leaves and their waxiness. And yet you know you're not really touching them. And that on the planet, those leaves aren't moving or responding to your touch. It just feels like you're touching them. And you wonder to yourself whether this experience is real, whether you're really projected as a mind onto that planet, or whether this is somehow just a simulation. And you notice one of the options is the spacecraft of the alien. And so you visit that spacecraft. And you can see the alien in that spacecraft. You can see them as they really are. And the alien turns to face you and starts to talk to you, and you're surprised because if you're not supposed to really be there, how do they know you're there? And they explain that they created this option. This isn't one of the locations that you're seeing and experiencing. This is like a communication option, where you've just tapped into the communication, almost like a telephone or video calling. And they explain that everywhere you visit is in real time, is as things are now. But when you touch things and seem to interact with things, that's just a simulation creating what it would feel like to touch or interact with those things, what it would feel like for the temperature of planets. No harm can come to you by the simulation within the experience. But you're not really interacting with the real planet, although you are seeing the real planet. They described it as a virtual reality where it feels like you're touching things, but in reality, the only thing that's in that reality is what you can see, is the awareness of everything around you. Any interaction is only an experience you have, not something that takes place in the location that you're viewing. So if you reached out and touched a tree, you'd feel like you reached out and touched a tree. But in the real location, you haven't touched that tree. And you think you understand, and you carry on exploring different planets. You watch sunsets on planets. You watch sunrises. You see the most beautiful solar eclipses on different planets. You notice how large the database of planets is in this experience. And in everyday life, you continue wearing that bracelet. Anyone seeing you would just assume it's a normal bracelet, unaware that you can experience things they can't. And then the alien explains to you one day, when you're using that bracelet, that they're going back for their beacon. They're going to come back here to Earth. That they've got to get their beacon before the military find a way to use the technology that's within that suitcase. And that it's unlikely that they'll succeed in doing so, but it's better to be safe than sorry. And you one day see on the news about a breach at a military base, And you check in with that alien who says that they went back for their suitcase. They went back for that beacon. They got hold of their beacon and then left. And you enjoy your gift. You enjoy the new knowledge you can gain by exploring strange new worlds, by seeking out new life, new civilizations, by finding things that no one's ever seen before. And you don't know exactly where all these places are in space. You don't know how spread out they are, how common life is. You just know you have a huge database to explore. And you decide to go back and gain further education and progress into a field that will allow you to work on discovering some of these places and advancing human civilization to a point where humans can find these places for themselves. And each night you drift off asleep, thinking about this gift you've been given just from a random encounter, being in the right place at the right time and responding in the right way in that right time. And you drift comfortably and relaxed asleep.